old guy in Colorado. Doodah. Hey everybody, old guy is here. Mrs. Old Guy is there behind the camera, and as always, really give a. I told you, right? I told you. Look here. See this handle? That's from the last time I didn't pay proper damages. She broke that cast iron. So it's a good thing I've got a hard head. All right. So homages to Mrs. Old Guy. Alright, enough of that silliness. Today I am going to make one of my favorite cakes ever. Chocolate stout cake. And if you've never had one, you've got to give it a try if you like chocolate cake, because it's just unbelievable. So, Mrs. Old Guy, come on over here. And it starts with a can of Guinness. Alright, so we need 1 full can of Guinness beer. Get that in here. Once you try this cake, you're not going to want another chocolate cake after that. Well, you might. I guess that's a bit of an exaggeration, but they're really good. Alright, so there's our can of beer. I've got 1.5 cups of cocoa. Me on. And I've got a full pound of butter. 1 full pound of butter, just kind of cubed up. Now the object here is not to get this to boil or anything like that. This is just to melt the butter and incorporate the cocoa with the beer and the butter, so just everything kind of combines. So it's going to take just a few minutes, but when I'm back, that's what it'll look like, I guess. We'll see. We'll see in a minute. I wanted to come back to this and point out that it didn't take very long for this beer to get warm enough to start to melt this butter. And really, that's when you want to take it off the heat and just let the heat slowly melt the butter. You really don't want to get it too hot at all. Just let that butter slowly melt in, stir it around, so you don't end up breaking the butter, separating the oil from the whey. And so I just wanted to point that out. We'll be back with the next step. Okay, so now we move on with the next part, and I'm going to get to the 444 because that is. So, guy, come on over here. Foreign object there. Okay, get this out of my way. We're going to got 4, 4, and 4. There's 4 cups of flour. We got 4 cups of sugar. And here in a minute, I got 4 eggs to throw in there too. But in the meantime, there's a teaspoon and a quarter of salt, and a tablespoon and a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. I'm just going to throw this on. I'm just going to give this a quick dry mix here. Alright. Next, we're going to go ahead and pour in our chocolate, and I'm telling you what. Oh. I mean, this right here smells unbelievably good, but it tastes really bad. Just the cocoa and the butter and the beer. Yeah, it smells amazing, but yeah, it's not edible. We're going to pour this into our mix here. mix in here. Alright, here's my 4 eggs. I'm going to drop them in one at a time. Mrs. Old Guy, can you see that okay? Okay, so I'm going to get the rest of these eggs in. Whoop. Oh well, so much for one at a time. That's alright. This cake takes a little while to bake. And it does depend on what kind of pan you're cooking them in. In a bundt pan or whatever, these can take up to an hour or so. And the smaller rounds could even still take up to 45 minutes or more. So now I've got the last step is 1 cup and 1/3 of sour cream. Like I said, if you have not ever had a chocolate stout cake and you are a chocolate lover, you're denying yourself if you don't try it. Alright, we're going to get this mixed in and then we'll talk about getting some poured into a pan. Ooh, the batter is all mixed and ready to go. Now if you want to taste it, oh, it tastes as good as it smells. And believe me, I know I've said it before, but if you have never had a chocolate stout cake and you are a chocolate lover, you definitely have got to give this a try. Alright, let me kind of put this over here. So I've got a couple of 9-inch cake rounds here. And if you're going to use rounds, you need to put something on the bottom. Otherwise, it's just going to stick and you're not going to get your cake out in one piece. I had some parchment paper, so I just cut a couple of rounds out. Gave it a good oiling with a little pan spray. Butter works, of course. But if you don't have parchment paper, use some aluminum foil. Use something on the bottom of your pan. Otherwise, it's gonna stick. I can promise you. It will stick to your pan. So you've got to put something on it. Now, if you're going to use a bundt pan or something like that, it'd probably be okay. And just like all these other cakes, you want to fill these about halfway. Oh man, these cakes, depending on your altitude and your oven, of course, but these rounds will take only about 30-35 minutes. If you're going to use a bundt pan, it's going to take about an hour. So all I need is 3 rounds to make this cake, and I'll just save whatever batter I got left in the freezer. Alright, there's these 2, ready to go. I'm going to get them into the oven, 350 degrees, and when they're done, we'll see what they look like. We'll be back. Alright, let's pull these out of the oven. Okay. These cakes always fall in the center, with the exception of if you're using a bundt pan, then obviously there's no real center for it to fall. And it makes a nicer presentation as far as that goes, but the way I'm going to do it, you'll never notice. But anyway, so if it does that to you, don't freak out. It's perfectly normal for this cake to do that. So I'm going to let these cool, and I'm going to get another round done, and then I'm going to do a sheet pan about this size with some, because I want to try a little experiment, and we'll be back. But I just wanted to show you, remember what I said about the center going to cave in on you? It's perfectly normal, and And that's just what happens with this cake, and it's okay. So I'm going to get these cooled, and so we're going to keep baking and moving on. We'll be back. See, I've got a pound of butter in my mixer bowl here, and I've got a cup of powdered sugar, and I'm going to make an Irish cream buttercream to go with this cake. So I'm going to get this, start to mix it up, and once I get this creamed out a little bit, we'll get to the booze. So I've got about 6 ounces here of some Irish cream. I'm not going to use or say any particular name because I don't really think it's that important. Just a decent Irish cream. And I'm going to add this, start to add this in just a little bit at a time to my buttercream here and get it incorporated. So we'll get to that point and be back. So I've got the Irish cream incorporated in. I'm going to add, I don't know, 3 or so tablespoons of heavy cream. And I'm going to get this whisked in or whipped in, and then I might add a little more powdered sugar. I'll give it a taste and we'll see. So we'll be back. Oh, it's good, but I think it needs a little bit more sweet. So I'm going to add another half a cup of powdered sugar and we should be good to go. We'll be back. Now that I have the buttercream done for the inside, I'm going to make the outside frosting, which is going to be a cream cheese whiskey fudge, or a chocolate fudge, a chocolate whiskey frosting. Okay, I'll get the terms right here at some point. I've got a pound of cream cheese in here. I'm going to add another cup of pow, a little powdered sugar. I'm going to get this blended out, and then I'll think about adding some booze. I've incorporated the powdered sugar in there, and now I'm going to add in some Irish whiskey. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go with a brand name. An Irish whiskey of your choice. You don't even need to be Irish whiskey, I don't suppose. Okay, and I've got, I guess I'm going to start with 3 tablespoons of this cocoa powder. Get this blended in, and I'll see how it tastes. Alright, so I gave it a taste. It's pretty good. I'm going to add just that pinch of salt. If you're going to work with chocolate, really just even a pinch of salt. I'm going to add a teaspoon and a quarter of some vanilla. And I want to give it a little more cocoa, so another tablespoon, and we'll see from there. We'll be back. So, time to put this cake together. This is just a serving suggestion. You don't have to do it this way, obviously. So I've got a knife that's at least as wide as my cake, and I want to cut this in half. So I'll just try to stay level. If you have a cake table, then you know that makes it real easy. So we're just going to keep going around and around. And I'm not worried about it if it doesn't come completely. Alright, that's pretty good. It's thin there, but that's okay. So I got this one. I've got 3 more, or actually 2 more rounds I got to cut, and we'll go from there. Okay, now that the building, and I'm just going to put a layer of this buttercream in between each one of these cake halves and make myself a stack. So when I get to that point, I'm sure you get this, put some in between each one. Not rocket science, and I'm sure a lot of you have already done this before. So once I get this part done, I'll be back. We're about ready to get this outer frosting done, but I wanted to point out that you can see here, and this will get I sacrificed one of the layers because this cake, where all the layers were settled on the inside, it made kind of a void on the last layer, so I just took the center and filled that layer in. still going to make a beautiful layered cake. So I just wanted to point out that that's what I did. I'm going to get it frosted, and then we'll see about some dessert. All right, there's the cake, all frosted and looking beautiful. I let it get really cool in the fridge. Give this a cut. Oh. You don't want to make big slices on this. It's a rich cake. It has kind of like a brownie consistency. Come on now. Come on, lift out of there. The first one's always the hardest. Gonna lift out of there or what? Come on, come on. There we go. Oh, look at that. One more for Mrs. Old Guy. Cake is slightly frozen. That's okay. I like it really cold. So, did we get a look at those layers there? That buttercream in there. All right, let's give this a try. See, right now, you wish you were me. This is so good. I've never had a chocolate cake that has the depth of flavor that this chocolate does. Like I said before, if you've never had a chocolate stout cake, take the time and make one. It is absolutely worth the trouble. Birthday, any occasion. Oh man. Between the buttercream and this fudge, whiskey, cream cheese. Oh man. This is so good. Well, I appreciate everybody watching. I hope you like this video. And I sure hope you give it a try. I really do. This is so good. We'll catch you next time, and in the meanwhile, you take care of yourselves.